AT&T finishes 2024 strong, delivering growth in 5G and fiber subs, service revenues, cash from operations, and free cash flow. And they reiterated their full year 2025 guidance. Okay, let's see what they did here. All right, let's get the boring stuff out of the way. Kind of sort of matters to us because we discuss it often. Revenue, and this is just for housekeeping. We can compare all the carriers once we get through the numbers. Revenues of just over $32 billion. Cash from operating activities, just a shade under $12 billion. CapEx, $6.8 billion. Free cash flow, $4.8 billion. Okay, so we'll come back to that. Highlights from the quarter in growth: 482,000 postpaid phone net adds, industry-leading 0.85% churn rate, mobility service revenues of $16.6 billion, 307,000 AT&T fiber net adds, 20 consecutive quarters of 200,000 or more. That number is really, really good. Consumer broadband revenues, $2.9 billion. So, yeah, that's good stuff. So they're closer to like $20 billion in service revenues for those two services. Full year consolidated results. On the year, $122.3 billion. CapEx, $20.3 billion. Free cash flow, $17.6 billion. You write those numbers down, B?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. You must have a good memory. All right. Okay.
No, I have them on the other phone. I have them
All right.
on the other
Gotcha.
phone.
Okay. 1.7 million postpaid phone net adds for the year. Postpaid churn on the year, 0.76. $65 billion in mobility service revenues on the year. 1.0 million AT&T fiber net adds. $11.2 billion in consumer broadband revenues. 29 million consumer and business locations passed with fiber. Outlook for 2025. Free cash flows, $16 billion plus. That puts it in line with this year. They're probably sandbagging. I think it's going to be higher than that. EBITDA growth, 3 to 4%. I think Verizon guided something like that. Mobility service revenue growth, 2 to 3% improvement expected. I think Verizon guided that too. Consumer fiber broadband revenue, mid-teens. That's pretty encouraging and exciting. All right. They launched the AT&T guarantee during that quarter or recently. 7 straight years with 1 million or more AT&T fiber net adds. They are the consummate, consistent, reliable grower in fiber and home broadband. Postpaid phone, they continue to thrive. Best deals for new and existing customers. Yeah, 7 straight years of 1 million or more AT&T fiber net adds.
I'm sorry, Sneed. You said they are the what? The leader in...
The consummate and consistent grower in fiber net adds.
Oh, okay, because first you said fiber and home broadband. Okay.
Fiber home broadband.
My apologies. Okay, cool.
Yeah, their copper is trash, and we know it's on its way out.
Go ahead, man. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think that's all we really need to discuss for now. All right, so here are my highlights and takeaways from AT&T. Their strengths continue to be their strengths. They grow in postpaid phone net adds. Profitability is pretty good. They improved it, I think, by like 40 or 50 cents per subscriber. Churn rate is industry leading for the year, industry leading for the quarter. Fiber broadband is doing really, really well. 40% penetration rate. I think $74 is their ARPU on fiber. Prepaid churn was under 3. That seems to be kind of where the carriers like to be. I didn't really see many weaknesses. They actually spent a little bit less on CapEx, and I think I know why. I think it was because their free cash flow wouldn't have looked as good. I think they did that very particularly so they didn't fall behind T-Mobile in free cash flow. That's just me speculating. I look, if they would have spent the $22 billion like they guided, they would have had $3.5 billion in free cash flows, which would have been $1 billion less than T-Mobile. They ain't having that. That stock would plummet. So they're kicking ass in fiber. They're kicking ass in postpaid phone, whether it's churn, growth, whatever. Service revenues, they came in, I believe, second in the industry behind Verizon, but they weren't even really close. Whether it's the year or the quarter, they just don't. They don't scale wireless like Verizon does. AT&T is clearly number 3 when it comes to net subscribers and all those types of things. The street loved AT&T's quarter. They loved their year, and they rewarded them. The stock popped, I think 6 or 7% the day that they dropped earnings on Monday. And I think it's even garnered a couple extra percent since then. So it's been good for AT&T since they dropped earnings. AT&T's place within the industry is one that shows growth with decent profitability and margins and a trajectory of upside, because they've convinced the investor in Wall Street they've got this thing turned around and they're going to continue to go in the right direction. Now, how you choose to execute that, AT&T, with shrinking your workforce, bringing all your employees back to the office but not giving them desks. There are some really unconventional things happening there. But it looks like they'll cut off their left arm to hit the metrics. So I think comparatively, AT&T in some ways as good as Verizon, and in some ways not as good as Verizon, but the street rewarded AT&T better than they rewarded Verizon, because the free cash flows were higher at Verizon, the service revenues were higher at Verizon. AT&T paid down debt, so did Verizon. What Verizon does in fixed wireless access, AT&T does that in fiber. So their broadband additions are very similar in that respect. AT&T Internet Air, I think they had 158,000 ads. Put that on top of 307,000 fiber, and that's like 470,000 broadband customers added. I think Verizon had like 50,000 Fios and then like 408,000 FWA or something. Like, they're so close in so many things. So in some ways, Verizon was better. In some ways, they were very, very similar, almost identical. Verizon is still a more profitable company. Their ARPU for the postpaid subscriber is higher, which is the core business, and that's how the business scales. But AT&T got rewarded much more than Verizon did after dropping earnings.